Tomorrow is the second of the two English language examinations, paper 2. If you're a teenager who's got that exam tomorrow, or if you're the parent or carer of a teen who has, I thought I'd put together a few top tips and an overview of what to expect in that non-fiction exam tomorrow. This is related to the AQA exam paper. It's the one I'm mainly working with when I support students. So tomorrow's exam is non-fiction. And this relates to the AQA course. Okay, if you need to remind yourself, it's a 1 hour 45-minute exam. Unless you've got an extra time entitlement, then you'll be looking at just over 2 hours and 10 minutes. As with all exams, sticking to timing is really important. Okay, so there will be two sources in tomorrow's non-fiction exam paper. They give you the same amount of time as for paper 1, but they expect you to do double the amount of reading. So you're going to need to read two non-fiction texts. There'll be a source A and a source B. We know already that these will be written at different time periods. One of them will be more contemporary, more modern, and the other one will be from the 1800s. It will be 19th century. So there'll be a real difference in terms of when these were written. They will present a particular view, both writers, on a shared topic. And as part of understanding and doing well in the reading section of this exam, you're going to need to demonstrate that you've understood both of those perspectives. Okay, so in terms of a quick overview and a rundown, the questions, the exam's split, just like paper 1 was split, into two sections. You've got questions 1 to 4 in section A, that's the reading section, and then question 5 is the one huge 40-mark writing task. Okay, so for question 1, worth 4 marks, you'll be simply identifying 4 true statements. They'll give you a list of 8 statements, ask you to read a short section of one of the sources. You've just got to pick out the 4 true statements. Students often lose an easy mark here. It can be there can be one which is a little bit trickier, which is you need to just read that paragraph carefully and make sure that you are shading in the boxes of the 4 true statements. Nice easy 4 marks to start with. Okay, question 2, 8 marks, is a summary comparison. Usually it's summarising the differences between source A and source B. It can be similarities, but usually they go for differences. Okay, my advice for this is that you use PQI, point, quote, and inference. They're looking for you to demonstrate that you've understood what you've read. This is not a question about writers' techniques and methods. You do not need to start mentioning similes, metaphors, contrasts, rhetorical questions, no devices at all. It's purely about your understanding and being able to make inferences, what's implied, what's suggested, okay? So PQI, I use that with my students, point, quote, inference times 2. And if you develop the inferences, try not to say just one thing, but try and develop and push that inference on. What else could be implied or suggested? Okay, so that's your 8-mark question 2. Your 12-mark question 3 is language analysis this time. How does the writer use language to do something? This will be based on just one of the sources. And the approach I've been using with students is a very broad what, how, and why. This is the question where you are writing about the methods that the writers use. So what language methods? Your teachers might have used the word technique, device, all the same thing. What methods have been used and how have they been used? Give an example, you need a quote. And then why? That's the big one. Why? Why has the writer made that particular choice? Why have they chosen to use that particular verb, that particular adjective? Why have they asked that particular rhetorical question? Why have they used that contrast? Why that metaphor? Why that particular simile? Why that use of personification? What's the effect on the reader? They're looking to get the higher marks. You need to be clear and relevant, but you need to try and get perceptive and detailed. Why have they used it? So if you have that word why ringing in your head tomorrow morning, you need to make sure you develop your answer and you say why that particular language method has been used. Okay, then we come on to the big one, question 4. This is the one students struggle with more. It's because it's the hardest question. Okay, and in question 4, you're comparing the whole of source A with the whole of source B, comparing attitudes between the two sources. What does the writer of source A think about, whatever the focus is, and how does that compare or contrast with what the writer of source B thinks? Okay. I've used the word attitudes here, but you might think of it with other synonyms. What are their views? What's their perspective? What are their ideas? What are their thoughts and feelings about whatever the particular topic is? Okay. I use AMI CAMI for this one. AMI CAMI. You see, I've got this here. The A stands for attitudes. What are the attitudes of the writers? The M for methods used to express those attitudes. E, give me the evidence, put down the quotation that supports that, and then explain the effect. Okay, so AMI CAMI, I've suggested here 2 AMI CAMI paragraphs. So you could have the first AMI on source A, a connective, that's what the C stands for. However, the writer in source B link through in your second paragraph and bounce across to source B and what their thoughts and attitudes are about whatever it is, and then repeat that process again. So you've got a minimum of 4 paragraphs. It's a 16-mark question. Students often don't write enough for this. You need to be allocating about 20 minutes, maybe even 25 minutes to this question. It's the key one. 16 marks for this one answer. So make sure you've read both sources and that you understand the different perspectives and that you're writing at least 2.5, maybe pushing for 3 sides to do well on that question. That's the reading section. In the writing section, 40 marks for one big piece of writing. Just like paper 1, it's a huge tariff. For one piece of writing. It's a quarter of the GCSE. 25% of the whole qualification rests on this one piece of writing. So you're going to plan it carefully. You're going to make sure you're thinking about the structure of that piece of writing. They're likely to ask you for an article, but it could be a speech, could be a letter. Whatever it is, the mark scheme's the same. They want to see that you are communicating clearly. That's the key descriptor to get into a pass and climb up the grade boundaries. At the top level, it needs to be convincing and compelling, really engaging and interesting. But if it's clear, you will be passing and then climbing up those grade boundaries. So you make sure that you've thought about different arguments to support your view. Do you agree or disagree with the statement? Have a viewpoint, pick a side. Don't flip-flop between agreeing and disagreeing and get pulled into writing about counter-argument. Sure, acknowledge the counter-argument, but then destroy it, then dismiss it. Don't give it too much attention, okay? 16 marks out of those 40 are for spelling, punctuation and grammar, technical accuracy. So you're going to proofread and check. Don't make silly mistakes. Don't have a little I. I is always a capital I. Make sure that you've punctuated every sentence. Make sure you've got capital letters in place. Apostrophes has been a real issue with some of the students I've been working with. So make sure that where you've used apostrophe, that where there's an apostrophe required, it's in there. Okay, proofread and check that as you've been writing, you've not missed words out. Often when you're writing under pressure in an exam, in your head you've thought of the word, but when you've written it on the page, it's missing. It's important that out of that 45 minutes that you spend on the writing section, that you make sure you've proofread and checked it carefully. Okay, 5 minutes at the end, and then that will stand you in good stead. So, final comments and tips. Make sure you go in with a strategy. Are you going to do the paper in order? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or, as some students are doing, are you going to have a bit of a strategy and you're going to put the writing first and do question 5 first, and then work your way through the reading questions? You need to stick to timings, whatever you do, but make sure that you answer all 5 questions and that you make sure you write enough for those higher tariff ones. Question 4 and question 5, they're really key. Good luck tomorrow. Under the video, I've copied and pasted some key guidance that basically summarises what I've been going through in this video. I hope that AQA English Language Paper 2 goes well for you all tomorrow. Good luck.